Hi loves, and welcome to Pearl of the Stars Applied Astrology Series, where we're going to uncover, through the language of astrology, the hidden information in a birth chart or in your natal chart, and how you can use that information and put it into practical use in your daily lives. So today we're going to start with uncovering his turn on drive and how to keep it or keep him engaged. For that, we're going to take a look at the placement of Mars in his natal birth chart. So in order to get to the bottom of the truth of what your guy needs to be turned on and keep the fire of desire burning in his body, we are going to take a look at 3 things in his natal chart. We're going to take a look at his Mars placement by sign, where and what house his Mars is placed in, and the ruler of the 8th house. So in terms of order of importance, the most important thing is first to look at his Mars sign. Then you can add attributes from the house his Mars is placed in, and to that you can add more attributes from the 8th house ruler in his birth chart. This will give you a full picture of what he needs to feel turned on and give you some room to play with. But first, why do we look at the Mars placement? Because Mars in a birth chart, especially in a male's birth chart, represents his drive, the energy, the external energy, the exertion energy he carries. It's his masculine energy, or if you would like to refer to it, his fighting or spirit warrior type of energy, which speaks to what drives a man to act the way he does. But also in a female's chart, it represents what kind of man or masculine energy she finds as attractive. But that's only if she's heterosexual or bisexual. If you're a gay woman, then we're going to need to take a look at your Venus placement, which is going to be discussed in another video of how to pleasure her. The Mars placement in a female's chart, it also does speak to what drives her to act or behave in a certain way, but it does not determine to such a high degree her sexual drive. Whereas in a man's chart, the sexual drive really needs to be ignited. Why is it so important to keep the sexual drive ignited? Because it is what regulates our immune system. Because in the cases of lack of sexual drive, or some would like to refer to it as low libido, it translates into low will to live. And when we don't have a will to live, we die. As the will is fueled, one can stay as an active participant in life. One is able to transform, overcome obstacles and challenges, and also fight with sicknesses and diseases. It is what helps go through the changes and flows of life. So think of it this way: the more you turn him on or attend to his drive needs, the more you can also keep your man healthy and living longer to keep you satisfied. So in simple terms, the way some would like to refer to it, the more you fuel his Mars, the more you ignite the hero instinct inside of him. And this applies to both straight and gay men. So if you're a gay man, then you need to look at your partner's Mars sign in his natal chart. Because when it's suppressed, neglected, and not fueled correctly, this can lead to impotency, sexual problems, and intimacy difficulties. So in order to keep a man turned on and continue fueling his desire or drive for you, you need to learn and attend to his Mars needs. It increases the intimacy you can build with him and have deeper, more pleasurable, and satisfying sexual experiences together. Now, who wouldn't want that? Think of it this way. His Mars is the key to the light switch you can keep on turning on if you want to get the best out of your man. And not just in bed, but to bring the best out of him in life. And if you're a guy watching this video to learn more about yourself, your Mars placement in your birth chart speaks to your instinctual, raw needs. It can be looked at as your kinks, but the kinks that are like a kick for action. So let's buckle up and get turned on by exploring each Mars placement by sign, house, and ruler of the 8th house. And just to add in, for those of you who are not familiar with what's 8th house ruler or cusp or what it means, I'm just going to give you a quick little briefing of how to take a look at the placement. So once you have the natal birth chart, you'll take a look at where the number 8 is. That's the 8th house. I think on the screen it's going to be shown differently. So look at the sign standing where the line starts of the 8th house. That's also called the cusp of the 8th house. So for example, if you have Aries on the 8th house, then the ruler is Mars. So then you're going to need to take a look at where again is the Mars placement in the birth chart, or add in Mars and Aries attributes. If you have Taurus on the 8th house cusp, then you can take a look at the Venus placement also in the birth chart and the attributes of Mars and Taurus. If you have Gemini on the 8th house cusp, you can look at the Mercury placement in the birth chart and also add in the attributes of Mars and Gemini. If you have Cancer on the 8th house cusp, you can take a look at the Moon placement in the birth chart and also take a look at the attributes of Mars in Cancer. If you have Leo on the 8th house cusp, you can take a look at the Sun placement in the birth chart and also add in the attributes of Mars in Leo. If you have Virgo on the 8th house cusp, you can take a look at the Mercury placement in the birth chart and also add in the attributes of Mars in Virgo. If you have Libra on the 8th house cusp, you can take a look at the placement of Venus in the birth chart and also add in the attributes of Mars in Libra. If you have Scorpio on the 8th house cusp, you can look at the Mars placement in the birth chart and also the attributes of Mars in Scorpio. If you have Sagittarius on the 8th house cusp, you can take a look at the placement of Jupiter in the natal chart and also add in the attributes of Mars in Sagittarius. If you have Capricorn on the 8th house cusp, you can take a look at the placement of Saturn in the birth chart and also add in the attributes of Mars in Capricorn. If you have Aquarius on the 8th house cusp, you can take a look at the Saturn placement again in the birth chart and also add in the attributes of Mars in Aquarius. If you have Pisces on the 8th house cusp, you can take a look at the Jupiter placement in the birth chart and also add in the information of Mars and Pisces. And this is how you add on more layers of how to turn him on. But if this is too confusing for you, you can simply start by just looking at his Mars sign, then later on add a layer of looking at the house placement, and then all of that information that I spoke about, the ruler of the 8th house. So now let's get turned on and look at each and every individual sign placement. Mars in Aries, Mars in the 1st house, Aries ruling the 8th house. When your guy has any of these placements, never deny, reject, or say no to his initiation. Because when you say no, you automatically cut off his novelty drive. Let's say he wants something now at his own time, but you may not be ready for it. You can respond by saying yes, but first I need to do yada yada yada. Give him something to look forward to. Even you can challenge him and respond by saying, that sounds interesting, but I'm not sure if you can handle this. When you respond in an open and playful way, watch his eyes light up, as he does not like when you give in too quickly. But the moment you're open to whatever he wants or initiates, that makes him feel excited, that there is a possibility that he's gonna get what he wants. Because this guy loves to overcome obstacles and to prove himself. But it is your job to encourage him to do so. He has a hot, fiery, and passionate energy, as the fire ignites quickly. But remember, when you block him by constantly resisting and saying no, the fire can just burn out as quickly as it started. So challenging stimulations are perfect for him, even if it's in the form of games. But not mind manipulation games. I'm speaking about games where there is tension building up, like Catch Me If You Can, just the whole catch and chase type of game where he can exert his domination and control over you. Because he really loves and is looking for the conquering, competitive flavor in your dynamic. With this guy, you need to be open to fast-moving changes where you allow him to be the leader. It's best if you have a more free, ready-to-go, open kind of attitude where you do not enforce your rules on him, but rather communicate what you want and what you like and how you want something to be in a very assertive, clear, and direct way. As think of him as a soldier who likes to follow rules and have a goal he can accomplish and achieve and prove himself. So as much as you do not force yourself onto him, also don't give in right away. He really enjoys that ability to prove himself and compete and conquer something. As if you give in, you're really going to steal away from his fun and excitement, as you need to constantly stimulate and fuel his drive for conquest and competition. And do not beat around the bush and expect him to think and figure you out. He does not enjoy that. Much rather have you be very direct and clear with him of what you want, even what you want to try, but allow him to be the one that initiates it. is the more stimulation or exciting new things you have to offer to the table, the more he has something to react to and act upon. Just let him deliver. This guy is a go-getter. But do not tell him how and in what way, as he kind of likes to go about things his own way, at his own timing, and whenever and how he decides to. But you can give him a hint to, let's say, when you want something, as long as it's not in a way you suppress that instinct he has for him to decide it when and how. The more novelty, excitement, and conquest you bring into his life and you inspire him with new and fun ideas, the more he's going to bring that energy into the bedroom and you can keep him turned on. In fact, between the sheets or routine sexual experiences might not be his thing, so try to switch it up. Even if you choose a more dangerous place, that might be something fun and exciting for him, somewhere in the wilderness, or play sort of a game like a convict running from the police or the security, where there are different toys like arms and guns, but let's say it can be a gun with painting inside. Could be interesting for him, where you run away and he's trying to catch you. Or choose a place like the kitchen, although I don't necessarily think the kitchen is the most exciting place out there or the most innovative and new place that you probably haven't thought of already or done it already. But still, if you are used to constantly being sexually intimate with him in the bedroom, try to definitely switch it up, or even do it in front of the fireplace. It just adds in that flavor of spice. You really gotta spice it up with him. But also be aware that he might not be into the long and lasting love making session. He might be more into the quickies. Unless his Mars in Aries is placed in one of the earth houses, like the 2nd, the 6th, or the 10th house, and that earth energy is going to give him a little bit more stamina. Most cases, he is going to like it quicker or faster, exciting, new, adventurous. So think of engaging and stimulating his masculine energy and his Mars in that way, because he really needs to exert his forceful anger and transform it through this initiating adrenaline. That's what really gives him a oof. Since I can't find a word, I'm just gonna use that sound. Ugh. But as long as you spice it up and you bring that novelty and excitement, you can really keep this guy turned on. Mars and Taurus, Mars in the 2nd house, Taurus ruling the 8th house. Do not overspend his money, honey. And if you're a gold digger, you better run away from this guy, as he's definitely not into gold diggers or the most generous one with his money, especially with somebody he does not consider worth the investment or his time. Because yes, he does like to enjoy the fine things in life, as long as they do not deplete his bank account. So any sensual pleasures are the most appreciated. But the fine things in life do not necessarily mean that they need to be the most expensive. You just need to keep his physical senses nourished to keep it up and on. For example, you can make a sensual evening, or an evening dedicated to sensuality and feeding his physical senses, either at home or if you're traveling, in the hotel room where there is gourmet dinner and dimmed lights and some wonderful and sweet smelling candles, preferably with the scent of lilac, and adding to that very cozy and fluffy and soft pillows and blankets, everything that creates this sense of comfort. Because to him, the fine things and the enjoyable things in life are not the bling blings, but the things that give him comfort. Really think of everything sensual, like satin bed sheets, strawberries and whipped cream, aromas, all of the things that fuel his senses, the touch, the smell, the taste. The sound also needs to be sensual. Think more of jazzy, loungy vibes to really set in the mood. You can even sing to him or whisper in his ears in a soft and siren-like voice. But if you can't sing, do not try to, as he really gets physically, his senses get bothered when something is not fine and refined and sensual. So anything rough and raspy and scratchy, it's really going to deflate that thing. He likes everything to be slow, steady, and pleasant. And think about playing and working with his throat or lips, or even with yours. He's really going to enjoy that. For example, you can put a finger on your lips or lick your lips or do something with your mouth, if you know what I mean. Or you can give him a strawberry in his mouth, but in a very sensual, slow and steady way, as this guy really enjoys being woozed in. Because even though this guy has a great stamina, he's nowhere in a rush, and he really likes to enjoy the whole process and the whole experience one step at a time. So try to focus more about the whole sensual experience and not the end goal. And don't expect him nor make him do too much and be overly active, as he much more enjoys lounging around and being sensually stimulated. That is his huge turn on. You need to show him how much you truly enjoy his strong yet sensual nature. He may not be the fastest, but he definitely has a very strong stamina. So long and prolonged sexual experiences and sessions will be his forte. So his turn on is everything pleasurable, from touch to smell to wines and grapes and massages. Even when we speak about eating food from your body, like sushi or even some desserts, could be a fun idea for you to try with him. You would enjoy that with oils, candles, everything. Just think that creates an ambience of relaxation and sensual pleasure, as these are your keys to keep this guy turned on for prolonged periods of time. Mars and Gemini. Mars in the 3rd house, Gemini ruler of the 8th house. Talk to him. This guy is very cerebral. Keep on turning his mind on, and you got him turned on. Well, not forever, as his mind is very curious and changes up quickly, but the more you can stimulate his mind, the more you can keep him turned on each and every time. He mostly enjoys communicating, exchanging information, learning, and solving riddles. So he's definitely not for the mute kind of types. Even mind-stimulating games would be ideal for this guy, as long as you engage with his mind and preferably in a more light-hearted and fun, curiosity stimulating way, as you can keep the spark and the fuel for his drive. Wordplay games, even sex games where you use rolling the dice, are wonderful to incorporate with him. As long as you can keep your conversations fun and stimulating, you can keep him turned on. You can grab his hands and guide him on what you want him to do or to touch you, but it's important to continuously keep on communicating with him as you guide him throughout the experience, because he's very likely he has very skilled hands and uses them as a tool to learn. So use his hands as a way to exchange that information and be the tool for exploring your bodies and preferences. Through talk and touch, that's how he gathers information and he enjoys learning the most. Also, he really likes when you switch up the sexual positions while you keep the conversations going and communicate. Now I would like to change it to this, or now I want to feel that. So even if that's in the middle of the lovemaking session, as long as you communicate it, this guy is really going to enjoy that change and switch up and communication throughout the whole process. Because trust me, he is not the one that would shut up either. He could be very skilled with his words. And the more you engage in that conversation, the more you actually stimulate his drive and fuel. You just need to keep the dialogue going and communicate throughout the experience. Not a big deal. Because actually he really enjoys learning how you feel, what you want, where do you like it. But he needs that information communicated and explained to him and verbalized. So fuel his curious nature and just express and share your process with him. Even dirty talk, not vulgar, but dirty, kinky, and fun sexual talking can be a huge turn on for him. And it does not have to be face to face. This is the guy that could really enjoy sexting, for example, or phone sex. You can even try something like this with him and he would find it very exciting and thrilling. With him, it's actually very easy to explore his curious nature by incorporating just very different than anything you can possibly think of kind of toys and tools and sex games. He would be open to try it all. I mean, you can even try to enjoy and pleasure yourself during the experience and communicate with him of how you feel and what you're going through as you are enjoying yourself. And he's really going to enjoy listening and having you communicate that information with him. So even just that is going to be a huge turn on. Ropes and ties can also be wonderful toys to implement, as they require skillful use of the hands. Even before the sexual experience, if you play the game of you needing something to be fixed where he can use his hands to mend or to fix it, can be a perfect way to engage his drive. Just make sure that game or the job you ask him to do does not take a very long period of time, as his curiosity wears off eventually and he tends to get bored pretty quickly. So again, switching it up with always something interesting and fun where you communicate throughout the whole experience is the way to go in order to keep this guy turned on. Mars in Cancer, Mars in the 4th house, Cancer ruling the 8th house. Nurture him. This guy really enjoys the mommy type of nourishment, because the most he enjoys is to feel emotionally nourished, to feel safe and secure with you first. So emotional soothing is the key to keep this guy turned on, as when his emotions are out of whack, it's very difficult for him to be on. What this guy desires the most is to be in a protective, home-like environment where he feels heard, emotionally understood, and soothed. And this is what fuels his drive. Because to be honest, feelings and emotions play a big part here with this guy. Home safety is what gives him the most power. So you can empower him by creating that environment for him. So picture it. Imagine a voluptuous woman with large breasts that takes him in her embrace, in her chest, and she soothes the worries of his day, as he can even cry in her bosom and find emotional soothing and freely is able to express his emotions. So that shared vulnerability and care for each other, it's really what he's looking for. He truly enjoys being cared for, and his environment really needs to feel like home. Home cooked meals, soft embraces, cuddles, kisses. You can even rub his belly. He even enjoys stuffed, emotional and sentimental objects, pictures of the past, or anything that reminds him of mom, especially if they had a good and are in a close relationship. Everything that stimulates his childhood memories with mom is what he deeply craves, and that's what he wants the most. So in terms of the biggest physical turn on, again, you'll need to start by building this emotional closeness with him and give him the feeling of home. This makes me think of, there is a phrase where it says, a man's love starts in his stomach, or something along those lines. A man with Mars in Cancer, his drive starts in his stomach. And I know emotions are changeable, but the more you learn how to nourish his emotions throughout each season or whatever phase he is experiencing, and you're there for him and can show him this emotional support and nourishment, the more you can keep him turned on. He needs to feel cared for. And if he's close with his mother and for whatever reason you do not like her, well, tough luck. Because he really needs that mommy-like stimulation to keep his libido. So, if you want to keep this man turned on, be his home. Mars in Leo, Mars in the 5th house, Leo ruling the 8th house. The turn on factors for this guy are play, fun, romance, creativity, and a little bit of drama. As this guy craves to be seen, he wants the attention, he loves to be adored. But most of all, what he desires is to feel and be as one and only. This guy is very generous and has a lot of fun and love to give, but he will continue playing around until he finds the one who cherishes him fully and treats him as the king, as the one, the only one. Ultimately, what he looks for is to sit on the throne and to be adored as the apple of your eye. So to turn him on, you need to treat him and look at him as the only one who matters to you. He does not handle criticism well, so even when he messes up, he looks at you for validation. He needs your approval. Imagine, let's say he burns the house down and you respond to him, "Honey, that is the best house burned down in fire I have ever seen. The way you destroyed it, it's so hot." And let me tell you, as ridiculous as that sounds, your response in such a optimistic and fun and loving way, and a little bit crazy and dramatic, is going to be the biggest turn on for him. And since he's generous, later on watch him not just build a new home for you, but he actually gets you too. But first he'll probably jump on you like a predator and bang you right there and then on the burned ground, just for fun. Sex on ashes? No worries. He's so passionate that he can keep on that fire burning as long as you approve of him. Just stay away from being too critical and judgmental with him, as this will turn off the fuel he has. All the fireworks that he has will very, very quickly die. But for him, there is no stage dramatic enough where he would not use it to show off all of his creative skills and abilities, as he will make sure he delivers the best performance of your life, since he really enjoys being in the spotlight and get all of the applause, admiration, and feel brilliant and seen, because that's what he really craves. You just need to be up for it and ready to play along with him, because after all, only he matters. He really wants to hear and know how wonderful, magnificent, and special he is to you. So in the bedroom, you can even get him a crown to wear, or get his special chair that's decorated as his kingly throne that he so craves to sit on, as you would really enjoy to take a ride with the king, if you know what I mean. You can even dress up and play royal games with him, as this is going to be a huge turn on for this guy. So once he takes his throne, watch him really rule your world. Even everything that's shiny, luxurious, sparkly, and royal, it's a huge turn on for him. So the phrase goes, the more, the better. Aside from all of the extravagance, this guy also really enjoys romantic gestures and outings and things, anything that's cute and fun and sweet, special for him, and gives him and feeds him with this attention that he so much craves. Also with this guy, you can really use the cute little name calling, like honey bunny, my sweet munches, mousy something. Figure it out. He loves these romantic yet cheesy cute little name exchanges between you two. And with that, you can also keep his need for attention, adoration, and admiration fueled throughout the day by sending him multiple emojis and messages with hearts and cute little things. Trust me, he's really going to love that, even if he does not admit it. Anything that makes him feel as the one and the only special one in your life is going to keep this guy turned on and supercharged when he sees you. Mars and Virgo. Mars in the 6th house, Virgo ruling the 8th house. Whew, that's a tough cookie. No offense. It's just this guy is so perfectionistic and pragmatic that it might be a challenge to find the perfect way to keep him turned on and stimulated. And even though he does have a great stamina, if he does not feel like he's perfectly turned on, he might actually invest his energy in something that has more of a practical use to him and stay away from intimate or sexual experiences. And here the turn on factor might be a little bit more challenging because this guy does not simply get physically turned on, he's also cerebral, similar to Gemini. However, you cannot turn him on by superficial and playful type of communication, as he's very clever and smart, and he can spot a mile away any untrustworthy and surface level information. Your best bet is just to be honest with him and admire his brains. The more you invest in listening and learning from him, but also appreciate him for the helpful advice and practical information that he offers you, the more you're going to actually keep him stimulated. And if you're trying to compliment him in any kind of way, just compliment him on his brains and smarts. That is probably the safest bet you can do with this guy. But also sharing an interesting book or something that you learned with him, even though it may sound nerdy to some of you, for him it could be actually very exciting. And when it comes down to adding more things to the perfect list of turn-ons for this guy, it is hygiene and health. Smell fresh and clean, like a detergent. Even bleach, where you don't have a trace of germ left on you, is best. Also, maintaining healthy lifestyle and routines and supporting him in his lifestyle and routines are in fact a turn on for this guy, as he really enjoys to have practical use or help, since his brain is very active and he can be too overworrying or too analyzing things in his day-to-day activities. So by you embodying and being this person who gives him a peace of mind is ideal. The less you criticize and judge him, just find ways to support him in his day-to-day activities. Even if you offer any professional advice, if you know that's going to make his life easier and better, he's definitely going to love that. In terms of the bedroom, any type of play or game where it's nurse and patient, where there is this aspect of healing or cleaning into it, for example, the maid and the boss, are perfect choices you can try with this guy. Aside from having his physical needs met, as long as you can also keep the house clean in the meantime, that would be his probably dream come true. And again, as a king, it could be like a head massage, something that helps his active and overthinking brain of unwinding would be also a turn on for him. Maybe you're the secret key to relax his overthinking mind, and you have a spot in his, well, I was gonna say heart, but mind, as an object of being stimulated and turned on by. And again, when it comes to communicating, it is best if you ask him questions and allow him to speak, because he has so much knowledge and information that he needs to de-stress and let go of, and for you to be that listening ear that he can share all this information with and release from his mind. that would actually be a way you can help and service him. And the more, again, he can do that with you, the more he is going to be turned on. He just wants you to be a very trusted source or addition to his life. He does not want to worry about whether you value what he brings to the table. So the more appreciative, but in a very genuine and honest way, and not in a very Leo-like dramatic way, like, oh my God, you're so amazing. He's probably gonna think that that's very stupid way of reacting when it's something just very basic. It's probably nothing that spectacular or amazing. Then he's really going to enjoy having that peace and serenity of mind with you again. And this is how you get this and keep this guy turned on. Mars in Libra. Mars in the 7th house, Libra ruling the 8th house. Finally, where me becomes we. Or his turn on is highly dependent on how much you are actually feeling turned on. Since he is so influenced by the person he is with, then the more flirtatious and charming you're with him, the more he becomes turned on and reflects that energy back to you. Imagine him like a mirror type of way, kind of rudeness, vulgarity, and abrasive behavior. The way you look are a huge must-know for this guy. Very refined, sweet, and romantic experiences are the forte for this guy. Beauty and harmony fuel his turn-on drive. Here, it's not as much beauty in terms of luxurious and bling bling type like it's with Leo. Here, we're speaking more about very sophisticated, refined beauty. Think more of elegance and class. And that's what he really enjoys looking at. Yes, he is very, very visual. This guy could be turned on as long as you keep your looks on point. Even your environment at home or the places you choose to go to, he enjoys refined and beautiful places, and he notices everything. Again, he is a visual type of person. Also, he likes a soft-spoken, very gentle voice, adding this really, really flirtatious and charming twist to the way you communicate. He really loves that. He really enjoys flirtatious conversations and also likes a good debate. But try not to be too aggressive or defensive or dominant in your communication, and that throws him off. Try to keep the conversations more flirtatious and playful, but again, playful not in a funny way, more as playful in a flirtatious, charming, and wooing way, as he really feels turned on and enjoys when you have this one-on-one time together and conversations where you share your thoughts and wants and likes and kind of have these discussions. And with him, you can also decide together and ask what he thinks of where you should guys go, what to do, and just again have this back and forth conversation of learning and sharing with each other. The interesting thing is, the more at harmony and peace you're within your own self, not overly emotional nor emotionally closed off, just at peace and completely comfortable with yourself, the more you're going to see him turned on. Again, this guy it just reflects your energy to a big part, or he's just so influenced by your state. So think of it this way: if you want to turn him on, ask yourself first, do I feel turned on? He really desires, and this is what stimulates him, keeping everything aesthetically spectacular. Fine dining, beautiful lingerie, sophisticated scents, romantic experiences and music, flowers, any type of setting that gives this feeling of harmony and balance. Trust me, even if he does not appear to be like this type of person, as I've noticed some guys with Libra could on the outside appear to be more casual looking, I suppose, but they really appreciate those things and they notice them. Even let's say if you choose sex toys that are like a special edition and they're beautifully made, sort of like playing out a Barbie movie type of, I don't know exactly how that scenario is gonna go, type of foreplay game. Could be interesting. Let me know if you try it. And he would really actually enjoy it. Think of him as Ken. Again, even if he doesn't look like it on the inside, think of him as Ken. And what would Ken really like? Do you see how much Ken is influenced by Barbie? For those of you who have seen the movie. I mean, the whole commercialized Valentine's Day image perfectly fits this guy. So focus on the visuals and looks, kind of give off this and create this space where it's like a Valentine's Day every single day. The more you're in the mood for Valentine's Day, the more he's going to be turned on. His sexual and animalistic drive is very much fueled by you and really much beauty everywhere. And this is the key to keep him turned on. Just celebrate Valentine's Day every day. Mars in Scorpio, Mars in the 8th house, Scorpio ruling the 8th house. Deep sexual appetite. An appetite that runs through every cell of his existence. Yet that appetite can only be fueled fully through depth. And the deepest you can go in knowing and exploring someone is through sex. So the key is always yes to sex. Raw, animalistic, painful, or pleasurable. He wants it all. He wants to consume you all. Dirty, ugly, or beautiful, it does not matter as long as it's all consuming and you feed his thirst for emotional sensation. Yes, emotions play a big part here. Your dynamic simply needs to raise emotions in him. Emotions of trust and loyalty. And you're going to be tested. So make sure you're truthful and honest with him. So the less pretenses, the more raw and pure energy you give off in your dynamic, the more you're going to keep this man turned on. You can even reveal a mysterious experience you have, as this would really intrigue him. Any mysterious, powerful seduction is a huge turn on for this guy. And as long as you do less talking and there is more action, the more he's really going to enjoy that digging into what that mystery is and trying to get to the bottom and the core of you, or the truth about you. So be open, but not like a book that's already read and there is nothing new to learn about you. He likes to discover information on his own. So keeping that mystery aura and taking your dynamic in that seductive way are really what's going to fuel his turn on detective mode. He's very likely to really enjoy a type of tantric, spiritual, sexual experiences, or even think of 50 Shades of Grey type, giving pain and pleasure, very intense sensations that provoke these intense emotions in him through bondage and choking, and then turning these experiences into more pleasurable and very deep and passionate lovemaking sessions. You can try anything here, honestly. Even use, I don't know, electric tape and do something interesting with that. Anything that feels and has like this danger, a little bit feel to it, yet it's kind of intense and sparks that mysterious curiosity to explore these intimate depths by raising really strong emotional reactions through the sensation itself. So to keep this man turned on, you really need to give him very emotionally charged and even intriguing and mysterious experiences or parts of yourself that he can dig deeper and deeper and deeper until he consumes everything of you. And don't worry, it does not sound scary when you're with the right person, because this depth is what is going to bring you to the other side of, let's say, where you have certain difficulties or struggles right now. This depth is going to show you what's on the other side and what feels like possibly the worst pain and sensation, that then you can transform and make choices that feel much more pleasurable. But you need to be open into diving and going in through the whole emotionally charged experience with him. Even in terms of the environment, he really likes dark and mysterious environment. Possibly you can add in some oriental music or elements to it, as long as it sort of gives off this dark and brooding feeling. It comes down to choosing the right music. Think of something like 2 Feet. That is very sexually arousing music, at least for some. He's really also going to enjoy this burlesque style and vibe. So anything that gives that feeling. He enjoys an aura of suspense that he himself can undress and fully uncover. The more you create suspense and intrigue in his life, the more he's going to be interested in stripping it down bare and dive fully into it as you allow yourself to surrender to his power. Because he really wants to turn you into ashes so you can be transformed and reborn. This is sort of like part of that healing journey that you can go on and embark on this healing adventure with this guy. But yes, it can be very intense when it's that intimate. So it's an experience that you need to be open and willing to go there. Some may consider this toxic if you are not able to control these, yes, difficult sometimes emotions and experiences. But the more you are able to stay present in that the whole emotional experiences and allow yourself to explore these depths with him, you will probably have one of the most profound, intimate bonds and experiences. But it's definitely not for everyone. On the other hand, if you think you have some kind of pain or problem, let him heal your misfortune. It's not something you need to communicate, it's something he's going to sense. And for those who may have had the experience where they actually feel more pain after having an experience with such a man, they have probably not fully transformed yet all that they were holding on to and storing within their body. Because this dynamic is supposed to bring you that transformation, that energetic transformation, and let go of emotions that are toxic and that have built up over time. Because remember, through every unpleasant experience, there is always a hidden lesson. So the more aware you can become of the lessons in this dynamic with this guy, the more you're going to be able to appreciate his powerful presence and intimate depth that you can build with him. And this is also how to turn him on. Just to be curious, to explore these different avenues and go deep. He loves strength and power. And you can empower him to heal your pain through your vulnerability, through sharing some of your messiest experiences and fears. Again, as I said, ugly or beautiful, he wants it all. It doesn't matter. He wants to know that he can take your raw emotions and transform them in your intimate experience together. As long as he knows that you are willing to be loyal and giving yourself to him. And by giving in, I mean surrendering to that experience and not keep a wall up, as keeping a wall up to him can make him feel insecure and block his fuel of going to such depths. So the more vulnerability and openness you can keep with him, you're going to keep this man turned on. Mars and Sagittarius. Mars in the 9th house, Sagittarius ruling the 8th house. This guy really desires to go above and beyond what's possible. So you need to fuel his adventurous and explorative drive. Hike 6, airplane, in a different country, on the grounds of any religious institution. Why not? He is up for anything, so his biggest turn on is when you're open to explore new adventurous activities together. He's very active and really enjoys going into meaningful pursuits, like learning about a new guru coming into town and trying out a different spiritual practice. This could be a big and interesting turn on for this guy, as it gives him a reason to explore something new. Because for him, even activities, and when you incorporate in the activities religious or spiritual flavor, that could be really enticing and exciting for this guy. You can take him somewhere out of town, and that automatically is going to have an effect on his turn on drive. Also, you can try going horse riding with him or any other hopping activity is ideal. He would also really enjoy if you travel with him and open your horizons with and through him. He's turned on by a person who is up and ready to go and to explore the world and everything there is to see and do. Because both gestures and being up and enthusiastic about being on the ride with him really fuel his Indiana Jones instinct in him. Be curious to learn or also talk about such topics. Maybe to that you can even add how you're interested to try something that you have learned through this again, spiritual new practice or tool that you discovered. And if he hasn't tried that before, he might be very much down to do it with you. Because at the end of the day, this guy is not so much just about the talking. He's about acting on the talk. So when you can turn that conversation into an activity which you can actually try out, this would be more stimulating and a turn on for him. Also, environments that are ideal for him are those with a cultural background. You can even try different cultural, ethnic cuisines, watching movies that have international production. Just try, as he is really open to exploring worldly pursuits. Places, activities, even poses need to be rich in variety, with an element of spirituality or cultural exploration. Even going on retreats, adventures, practicing yoga sex could be really fun for him. Not expect him to be okay with the routine, the same old one boring way of doing things or enjoying things. Eventually he is going to get really bored. So you need to have this Indiana Jones spice fueled in him, because anything that's boring, or if you're not enthusiastic about these things, are the two main reasons that you can kill his drive. So as long as you're down for anything and ready to be on the move, then this guy will be a joy for you. Road sex, hotel sex, keep on feeding him to give you more and more and really enjoy his experience with you, but also I'm sure you're going to enjoy it too. As his goal is to strive to have an outwardly experience. Mars in Capricorn, Mars in the 10th house, Capricorn, ruler of the 8th house. Ooh, another interesting dude, because this guy is all about business. Present him with a consensual agreement or contract with rules, and watch how his stoic expression turns into a gleam as his eyes light up, fueling his ambitious and business-like drive. But he definitely doesn't like to waste his time. So the more clear, concise, and practical you are, the more he's going to enjoy this formal attitude and approach. Imagine it sort of being in a boss type of dynamic. Email communications could also be very intriguing for him, with very down to the point message. Saying something like, meet me at 3 p.m. at this place, dress code, etc. This type of direct communication that is very raw and practicality oriented, but also save him the time from reading a whole explanation of things, is what he's actually going to find super alluring. But know one thing, that this guy is very dominating. So at first he can also reject your proposal as a way to show that he is in charge. because he has a skeptical and cynical outlook on accepting proposals and demands from others, as all he desires is to be the respected figure who is in charge. If he decides to make the rules and call the shots, then start it off by abiding to what he has to offer or propose instead. Then you in your mind can play this game of I abide, like a good secretary listens to her boss. Which brings me to a turn on play you can have with him, which, I mean, it's obvious, it's work office type of sex play, where the scenario takes place between the secretary and the boss, where he really enjoys mocking you and also degrading you, by which he shows that you are something lower than him. But do not be offended. Try to enjoy this experience and be the one who has been degraded, where you eventually interchange the scenario. Because first, you can let him dominate you and follow his rules like a good secretary. Be completely subservient to him, to his rules, his demands, even his, possibly you can consider it not so pleasant treatment. But what you can do, and he's actually going to enjoy it, maybe won't fully admit it, but he's really going to enjoy it, is that next time you be the one who is the boss and in charge, and you degrade him. You just need to be very firm and confident in your approach and attitude towards him. Think of embodying this role of being cold-hearted and emotionally detached boss babe. As your communication with him needs to be in the form of demands and giving orders, even with a sarcastic touch to it. Take his approach and now use it onto him. For example, the way you can talk to him is you can demand for him what to do. Let's say, take off your pants now, you miserable and useless janitor, receptionist, or however you choose to play out the roles. Like, you need to use very firm and degrading language. Again, you might think awkward about it, but he's really going to enjoy that. You can even tell him, as harsh as these things can sound, things like, your brain seems to have been out of service since my pussy has been calling you, and you seem to have been sitting on this chair looking miserable and deflated. What's the use of you? And then go into acting out that whole play of where you really mock and degrade him. And it may sound awkward to you at first, but trust me, you're really going to enjoy it. You just really need to keep an open mind for these kind of experiences. For those who are not as experimental, try to play out more again of the consensual contract. Give him a consensual contract and an office type of play and game. You can start from there. And this is what's really going to turn him on. Test it, try it out, and let me know how you enjoyed it. Because what happens when you degrade him? What you're actually doing, you're fueling his ambitious drive and need to try harder. Because what this guy likes the most is to try hard. He enjoys the pain and the grind. As masochistic as this sounds, it is true. He's sort of like an addict to torture. So torture him and put him in his place. But trust me, he will make sure that he puts you in yours too. But fueling that drive for ambition, it's really what's going to keep this guy turned on. And try to let your emotional self not overcome you, or only for the play where your crying would actually be taken as a reason where he degrades and mocks you for being such a weak and pitiful character, or at least in his eyes. Think of it this way: he has a very stoic type of turn on. So the more respect and ability you have to stick to the rules and be a boss type of player, the more his turn on drive will be active, and he can put that good stamina he has to use. The type of guy that even enjoys office dates and time together, or dates where you have business talk. Anything in that shape of business like conversation or dynamic is actually a big turn on for him. You can even create a business sex plan with him, yes, where you have your sex sessions in the schedule and know how much time it's going to take, where, when, and this way he can plan the rest of his day. This is actually a huge turn on for this type of guy. If you think of sex as being something spontaneous and enjoyable and pleasurable, and it is, imagine somebody who does not have time to enjoy life, and his sense of joy is tied up to obstacles and difficulties. From his prism, having that time slot dedicated to joy, even though he does not have much free time, kind of gives him the sense of excitement, or although he's not the most excited per se person, but that turn on fuel that he needs. He knows that on Wednesday at 3 p.m. he is going to release, and after his very stressful Tuesday evening meeting, and that's going to give him such a huge relief, for example. So the more serious and business-like approach you have to this guy, the more the devil is going to keep coming back and knocking on your door. Mars and Aquarius, Mars in the 11th house, Aquarius ruling the 8th house. This guy is an experimentalist. He enjoys different, unusual, and quirky activities. He is the freak that's going to be turned on by a surprise. Even anything that may be considered as outside the box for you, he would be so thrilled to try it out and find it actually very normal to do so. Also, a big turn on for him is your ability to be also very inclusive of his friends. The same is for Mars in Cancer with his mom. For Mars in Aquarius, that applies about his friends and social circles. The more sudden, unusual, and spontaneous experiences you engage with him, the more you're going to keep this guy turned on. In terms of sexual desire, here you can really get a good use of high-tech, innovative type of toys. As he is really into all of this tech gadgets type of things. So for example, you can go on a date with him where you have a vibrator inside of you, and you both download the application and allow him to regulate you. But at the same time, you can possibly get him a butt plug and do the same thing with him, where you're both having this pleasurable experience outside, but through the use of technology, you're regulating and monitoring your pleasurable sensations. And as much as I wouldn't normally consider this to be a very beneficial sexual experience, actually this is one of those guys who would very likely enjoy watching porn together with you. But what you can do if you're down for it is to watch a scene or probably replay a pose. But anything that has the use of technology actually does turn him on. You're into techie stuff and you're tech savvy, the more you're going to know what ways are out there, and be more creative in your use of technology as a way to get to him. I don't know, think of it as, I don't know, some examples could be like virtual sex, or I don't know if that's possible, but sending him a hologram of you pleasuring yourself, or a hologram of somewhere you want to go into something with him that has like this relation to sex. Anything again that has the use of technology in it is going to be really a huge fuel for his experimental drive and nature. And again, as weird as it sounds for some, technology does play a huge part in stimulating and creating that intimate experience. And even if he does not admit it, he can have this kink of creating his own virtual porn channel or OnlyFans. Like, this could be things that run through his mind. So even if it's more symbolic for just you two, you can create something like that together. But again, use of technology, think in that direction, and the more creative you can be with that, the more you're going to keep him stimulated, as again, he enjoys constantly being surprised with something new. So definitely do not expect routine or old tried ways with this guy. He's going to break the rules very soon and very quickly. You can also use AI and have a special created sex language for you guys, with coded words for a different kind of poses. Something, as long as you really try to work with any out of the box type of experiences again, and use technology with the latest things that it offers. It's what's going to keep him on and have his desire running like a computer hard drive. Mars and Pisces. Mars in the 12th house, Pisces ruling the 8th house. Ooh la la. Now it's getting fun, addictive, and maybe a little bit painful. Yet it's going to be the most healing experience. If you take all of the Mars placements so far and combine them into one, then this will be Mars in Pisces. As this guy's turn on is creativity, and he himself can be a very creative person, as you can both embody different creative roles and explore all of the stages of life. You can both travel together into the depths of pain and transcend into the heights of supreme divinity and spiritual bliss. So to keep this guy turned on, you really need to keep his imagination stimulated and create different scenes and scenarios for him to fully merge into and explore. As his romantic desire and feelings inspired by the act of merging and being able to merge fully and move wholeheartedly into the experience and explore that movie, scene, or scenario you have created for him or for both of you, as long as the role can help him transcend into a different realm of existence. Think of it as being on mushrooms. Type of experience is what he really craves. He's also really going to enjoy these games of back and forth where one of you plays the master one time and the other is the slave, and then you turn it around and switch it up, and then the next moment he becomes Romeo, and then in the next scene he turns into Frankenstein. As long as he keeps that flow between exploring those different roles that create this and spark his imagination. That's what he craves the most, to have his imagination inspired. I mean, here the possibilities are infinite. As long as you can feel his imagination, his Mars is going to be on. Because role playing and acting out a character or a look is really his forte. Take him into worlds unknown, or allow him to take you there as he goes through this experience of being your hero and savior, and you're his damsel in distress. So this romanticized episode you created is really what's going to keep him stimulated and engaged, where he has the ability to be your hero and savior. With this guy, honestly, you can play out anything, from BDSM to Tantra, from vanilla lovemaking scene to going on a trip and adventure together, as long as you sparked his imaginative mind. And you can color it by playing dress up and changing up and really embodying those roles with him. Think of costume and living out that dream as being a huge stimulus and turn on for this guy. Even on one end of the spectrum, he really likes these spiritual experiences and romantic dinners. Aside from the pleasurable experiences, he also enjoys to explore the painful sides of life, as they also spark his imagination. So you can definitely add in different BDSM practices. There are some that are more mild and others that are more rough. It's up to you what you choose, but he's also really going to enjoy this type of sadomasochistic role play, as all of these experiences help him transcend into the whole wide spectrum of emotional experiences that he craves. So just allow your mind to run wild and free, from pimp and prostitute to Beauty and the Beast, as long as there are elements of pray, hit, transcend, and bring this otherworldly experience into his life. He is really going to be turned on and stimulated. Also know that Pisces does normally like isolation, and aside from creating that isolated experience through his imagination, some of the elements you can also use in your choice of sexual experiences can deal with, I already mentioned about the painful part where you can incorporate sadomasochism and BDSM, which can be tied into a whole experience, let's say in jail or in asylum, but also other flavors that he's probably really going to enjoy are mafia type of scenes and scenarios, or of these spiritual healing practices, and you being the spiritual healer in his life, that are actually going to work as a turn on for him. And again, here, make sure you make a good use of the camera, as this guy is probably going to very much also enjoy being in front of the camera, and everything that you act out to be filmed, so that maybe at some point he chooses to re-watch it and run that scene again through his imagination. So play with his mind. Even when you're causing pain, be gentle. And you're really going to be able to keep this guy stimulated and turned on. So thank you, loves, for watching. The sun is already starting to come out, and I believe it's time for me to get myself turned off from this camera and turned on in some other ways. I'm going to see you in the next video, where we're probably going to speak about how to pleasure her. This way, all of the information we have available through astrology, we don't need to just learn it, but we can actually use it and apply it, so it serves a purpose in our lives. If you like this video, click the little thumbs up or turn on button, and I will see you next time. Bye. Really terrible with these outros, but I'm also not the best with following scripts, so I need to figure something out. I'm sure you know where to press like and on and off, so just follow me and just always keep staying turned on. Until next time, bye.